Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are here and welcome to week 4. NFL week 4 picks, week 4 live stream. Just before we get the show started, first of all, thank you all for being here when you decide to hop in. I appreciate it very much. It's what I love the most about doing the live streams is getting able to interact with you guys just immediately. It's awesome. It's been very fulfilling over the last little more than a year. Just a reminder, of course, I've got a little trip coming up to Portugal, and there will be no live streams for week 6 and week 7. Just a reminder again. I'll be saying it again on the show, but just so you know, yeah, week 6 and week 7, there will be no live stream. There will also be no CFL show on weeks 19 and 20. So just as a reminder to folks that those things will not be happening on schedule because I will be incommunicado in a different country. And we're just going to make sure that this is all going correctly. Wonderful. That's all good. All right. We're going to get this recording apparatus started here. Apparatus. I'm an old man. All right. We got that going. We got this going. And we are ready to roll. Let's see. Who do we got here? We got Chad, who came in prior to the stream saying he got 10 out of 16. Not too bad. We like that. Half Moon is in the chat. How you doing, bud? And Geo's in the chat. Oh my goodness. Geo knows. Awesome. And we got Andrew Warren in the chat there too, saying he's downloading his picks now. I assume he means uploading. That's very good, Andrew. I look forward to checking those out. All right. In 5, 4, 3. What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, fueled as always by the incredible folks at Nerd Tees, and welcome to week 4 of my weekly NFL football pick show for the 2023 NFL season and postseason. And we are sitting on our 3rd consecutive week, as you may see in the description down below, of 9-7 straight up. And it's not incredible, but it's also not terrible. It's the model of consistency. I've been 9-7 all 3 weeks of the NFL season so far straight up. Means I'm 27-21 on the season, a little over 56%. On the betting picks against the spread and on the total plays, only 6-10 last week. So obviously those did not go the way that I would have liked them to go. I will tell you, I genuinely feel a lot more confident and a lot more enthusiastic about my picks this week than I did last week. So hopefully that means we can turn the fortune on both of those numbers. Let's see double digits against the spread and on the totals in week 4. That's the kind of motivation that we're coming into this week with. We take a look at the primetime games. On Thursday night, the Niners beat the Giants very handily, 30-12. That was a straight up and against the spread win for yours truly. It was a loss on the total, as I did have that game going over. The Packers game, the Packers come back, a big win to beat the Saints by a single point, 18-17. It was a straight up win. It was an against the spread loss because I did have the Packers by, I think it was -1.5. So unfortunately, that did not work out because they only won by 1. And it was incorrect on the total as well, as I had that game also going over. Sunday night, the Steelers beat the Raiders 23-18, of course, with the much criticized McDaniels field goal choice rather than going for it on 4th down. I genuinely was okay with that kick, and I swept that pick. Got it straight up, got it against the spread, and correctly picked the under on the total. And Monday night was relatively successful for yours truly. The Eagles beat the Bucs 25-11. That was a straight up win. I did miss that one against the spread as I did take the Bucs with the points. Didn't get anything on the total there either as I had that game going over, but the weather of course had other plans. But then with Cincinnati and the Rams, the Bengals win that game 19-16 and I swept that pick. Bengals straight up, Bengals against the spread and taking the under on the points. So felt fairly good about Monday night. And in general, these primetime games have been fairly good for me so far this year. I think I'm 5 or 6 games over 500 across the board with them. So I feel like we're doing a good job there. Taking a peek at the Bridgewater's finest straight up pick and pool for season 12 of this show. I didn't really move much personally last week. I'm in a tie for 26th. Last week I finished in 27th, so pretty well right in the same place. 248 of 408 possible confidence points, which is just under 61% on the season. And 61% is exactly what I was in week 3, bringing in 83 of 136 possible confidence points, a clip of exactly 61%. But I do have to shout out our week 3 winner, which was Rachel's picks. And I believe Rachel is the wife of fellow prognosticator, our good friend, Chris Carter. I believe that's Chris's wife making those picks. 12-4 last week for Rachel's picks, bringing in 101 of 136 possible confidence points. That's good for a clip of just over 74% and was good enough to win week 3. I do also have to shout out Dark God 17, who also had 101 confidence points last week, but went 11-5. So I give the edge there to Rachel's picks because she had the better record straight up at 12-4. And as I mentioned on Twitter earlier today, in the chat, Half Moon's picks leapfrogging. Also in the chat, Geo knows for the overall leadership in that pool. 30-18 on the season, 299 of 408 possible confidence points, a clip of just over 73%. Half Moon is in the lead, although again, worth pointing out, Geo straight up, I believe, what was it, 34-14 so far this season? So they've had a massive start to the season, has Geo. So the straight up record's a little bit better. Half Moon's been a little bit better with the confidence points, which is the number one thing that matters. So Half Moon takes over the new leadership in at the Bridgewater's finest pick 'em pool. Let's see. Let's go in the chat here. Andrew, last video before your Portugal trip. No, actually, I will have other stuff coming out before the trip, like right up until when I leave for the trip. Those weeks, we will have stuff. So there will be a week 5 live stream. There will be a week 18 CFL show. So I will be able to get those episodes out like just before I go. I can't promise the quality of them because obviously there's a lot to accomplish between then and now, but those episodes will definitely come out. JR is the new Jeff Fisher at 9-7. That's really funny. I like that. That's really, really funny. What a way for Jordan Love to get his first home win. Yeah, absolutely. And again, like I'm as a Packers fan, I'm feeling a confidence with Jordan Love, especially on like the really decisive downs on 3rd and 4th down. He's still got a lot of developing to do as a professional quarterback, but some of the stuff that we see him do on like 3rd and 4th down, that's like I'm really, really pleased and really, really impressed with what I'm seeing out of Jordan Love. So 2 big thumbs up there. Bengals got a piece of revenge for the Rams Super Bowl 56. Absolutely getting that win. Rachel over Hatbox. I agree. Let's see. Yeah, winner chicken dinner for Half Moon. Green Bay always wins the home opener. They seem to be pretty good in them, which is why I felt fairly confident in taking the home opener there for the Packers. So this week is going to be super interesting because, as Andrew points out, it's the Packers and the Lions, and it's in prime time. So I cannot wait for that game. Let's take a peek now into Fantasy Corner, which is, of course, brought to you by the Dynasty Trade Calculator, my good friends at the DTC. So So now if you check the description to this live stream or the VOD or however you're watching the show, you are going to find my affiliate link for the Dynasty Trade Calculator, one of the absolute best resources available to you if you are a fan like I am of the dynasty keeper and long-term fantasy football. You're going to find great trade evaluations, player rankings, podcasts, a ton of great experts on the dynasty trade calculator. And if you use my affiliate link for as little as a cup of coffee, you can get access to this incredible long-term fantasy football tool. Check out the dynasty trade calculator. And it was a pretty successful week for me when it comes to fantasy football, going 6-2 across my 8 fantasy football teams. And that included a pair of wins in my dynasty leagues, which are the real big important ones, the ones that we absolutely love to see. Also doing really well in best ball this year, sitting in 3rd place and 4th place in my 2 best ball leagues. So feeling pretty good about the results there across the board. In the Professionals Dynasty Fantasy Football, I did pick up the win over Mitch, and I was really sweating that one. I almost got Devontae Adams'd, which would have been my own fault because I traded Mitch Devontae Adams last year. Devontae puts up, 42 points, I believe, and I had to sweat Joe Burrow as well as Chris Godwin. On Monday night, I had Mike Evans, and that Mike Evans touchdown was really what sealed it for me. But I really had to sweat those 2 final performances, but held on to get the win. That moves my record to 2-1, and I have a week 4 matchup with Half Moon's Picks, who is in the chat. We are adversaries this week in the Professionals Dynasty. In the Ante and Co Dynasty, I picked up the win over Justine, and no, that is not a typo or a misspeak. I picked up the win over Justine. That moves my record to a perfect 3-0. Really looking to make some noise in that league this year and started the season very well. I got a week 4 matchup against Emel. Now, my matchup with Half Moon right now is a projected win for me. ML were the 2 undefeated teams in the league. Right now, that matchup is too close to call. Going to be a heck of a week, heck of a matchup. I can't wait for it. And I'll take this opportunity, as I always do, to remind you that if you go to the description of this live stream or the VOD or the podcast episode or however you interact with this show, you are going to find all of my results from last week, all of my straight up against the spread and over under plays for week 4 in the NFL. You're going to find information on joining the Bridgewater's Finest Pick'em Pool for season 12 of this show. You're also going to find information on joining the NFL YouTube Prognosticators Facebook page. And you're going to find information on my great friends and sponsors at Nerd Tees. Hey, we got West Coast Martin in the house. Martin, thank you so much for taking the time to stop by this week. I appreciate that. Let's see. Hi, gentlemen. Hello, hello. Yeah, Packers fan versus Lions fan. Exactly. Half Moon is a diehard Lions fan. I'm, of course, a diehard Packers fan. So we're going to duke it out in more ways than one this week, but it happens. Now, my wonderful friends at Nerd Tees, like I said, if you go to nerdtees.ca, you are going to want to use my promo code, which is BW Finest. And what is my promo code going to save you? You already know, but I'm going to tell you again. 15% at checkout. You're going to get free shipping in Canada on any order over $100, which is an excellent value these days. And if you're one of my American viewers, you're going to get a great conversion rate on the US dollar. And you can find dozens and dozens of incredible loose leaf, estate coffee, and flavored coffee blends on nerdtees.ca. Great blends like this one, which is a vanilla hazelnut, which is a delicious, delicious tea blend. Got a little bit of milk in there as well. And look, you're going to find a bunch of incredible options on nerdtees.ca. You're going to use my promo code, save the 15%, get your free shipping, find yourself something to love, find someone you love something to love, especially with Christmas coming up. It's going to be here before we know it, folks. You can do that on nerdtees.ca. I'm getting, for the live stream audience, I'm getting some questions about my shirt. And yes, this is a Megazord from Power Rangers. So Andrew correctly calling that out. Is your Power Ranger shirt included? Is it included in what, Andrew? That's an interesting question, sir. What do you What do you want it to be included in? If it's included in the Packers Lions rivalry, maybe so. Maybe that's why they're playing. Maybe the winning quarterback gets this shirt. How can we do that? The winning quarterback gets this shirt. I'm going to have to run that by the new NFL commissioner, Taylor Swift, but I get the feeling that we might be able to get that on the go. And the blind Canadian cat is here as well, just in time for the Nerd Tease plug. Excellent timing. All right. So, without further ado, it is time for some week 4 NFL picks. I couldn't resist making the Taylor Swift joke. Apparently that popped cat real good. Half Moon says Swift for president. Look, it's a Taylor Swift world. We're all just living in it, ladies and gentlemen, so we might as well embrace it. Tyler Swift. A mashup between Taylor Swift and my friend Tyler, who I do the movie awards with. That would be wonderful. Taylor Swift would have to go through Travis Kelce for that. Yeah, probably. Damn. Okay, that's enough. Let's get into it. We're having too much fun on the show this week. Let's get into some week 4 NFL picks. Now, what you may have noticed on my Twitter account, of course, since the Packers play a primetime game this week, I had a vote on Twitter as to which game would kind of be included in the primetime game previews. And that vote resulted in the Miami-Buffalo game. So we are going to talk about the Thursday nighter first, going to go through some quick ones, and then we'll be talking about Miami and Buffalo, which is a heck of a marquee matchup in the NFL in week 4. We got Gorian in the chat giving us some picks. Jags and Chargers money line is what he says. Do I agree? Let's find out. All right. Let's start with the Thursday night game, the Detroit Lions in Green Bay to take on the Packers. Both of these teams coming into this game off of wins last week to move their respective records to 2-1. And look, like I said, I was super impressed with the Packers' ability in the fourth quarter to come back. And people were talking about like, well, if the Carr injury wouldn't have happened against the Saints or for the Saints, it would have been different. Look, who were the Packers without in that game? It would be a shorter list to talk about who they had playing in the game than to talk about who wasn't playing in the game. I mean, you didn't have any Aaron Jones, you didn't have any Christian Watson, you didn't have any Jair Alexander, Devondre Campbell, who's their top tackler, left in that game. Like you got Jordan Love only making his 4th or 5th career start, 4th, I think. It's like you talk about like, okay, would it have been different if Carr stayed in the game? Absolutely. But if we're going to have the injury conversation's a little more nuanced than that for my folks on Twitter. So, if we're going to have that conversation, we can have the conversation. It's just a little more in depth than that. The Packers remain one of, if not the most efficient offenses in the NFL to this point in the season. They're top 5 in this category. They're right up there with the Buffaloes, the Dallases, the Miamis, one of the most efficient offenses in the NFL. Are they putting up massive monster numbers? No, but with the yardage that they're getting, they're super efficient at putting points on the board. And that is, in some ways, just as important. It's important to be efficient. Like, you're not going to get 400 yards every game, but if you can score with the yardage that you're getting consistently, you're going to find success in this league. And that's what Jordan Love and the Packers have been able to do. Christian Watson's talking a big game about his ability to be able to come back and play in this game. Aaron Jones is talking about his ability to come back and play in this game. So ideally, the Packers are getting healthier. When you talk about the Detroit Lions, you are talking about a team who equally are right up there in terms of offensive, not offensive efficiency. They're not as efficient as the Packers. They are definitely putting up more yardage. I think the Lions sit top 10 in the league to this point in offensive yards. The defense has been, about middle of the pack. They're not giving up a ton of points. I think they're only giving up 21 points a game, which is a pretty solid number there. The Packers are also one of the more efficient defenses so far in the NFL, giving up a little under 21 points a game. So I feel like this could be a defensive battle, but when it's, again, an NFC North game, it feels like there's I guess you can say this for any divisional game. It does genuinely feel like this game could go either way and anything could happen. You definitely have to give the quarterbacking edge to the Detroit Lions. Like, you definitely do. Yes, I've been impressed with what Jordan Love has done, but we're talking about a guy that's made like 4 starts on his career versus a guy in Jared Goff who has had fairly consistent success in this league. And I think offensively speaking, it's probably a coin flip between these two teams if everybody is healthy. Half Moon makes an excellent pick there that David Montgomery likely coming back for the Lions. I mean, is that I'm not a hater of David Montgomery's, but anything that's going to take the ball out of Jahmyr Gibbs's hands on a fairly or on even a moderately consistent basis, is that the best thing for them? But again, David Montgomery is definitely a weapon. You always want to have more weapons in your arsenal. So this feels like a really close game. And I think Vegas reflects that with the fact that the line right now, the Packers are actually 1-point dogs at home. So Vegas doesn't really know which direction they'd go in this game. If the game was in Detroit, yeah, Detroit would probably be favored by a field goal or so. So I guess in that sense, they look at Detroit as the better team between the two. Can't say I deride them too much for that. Look, I said last week I'm not going to pick the Packers every single week. I am going to pick the Packers this week. It's so tough. It's so tough for me to, in a division game like that. If the game was in Detroit and when the game later this season is in Detroit, unless something earth shattering happens, I'm probably going to take the Lions. But I'm going to go ahead and take the Packers in this matchup. Let's take Green Bay to get their second straight win. Packers beat the Lions in Green Bay. So obviously, since I'm taking the Packers to win, Half Moon in the chat, such a fanboy. It's true. Since I'm taking the Packers to win, I'll take the +1 points against the spread on Green Bay. Total in the game set at 46. This is a really beatable number. Two offenses that I think can move the ball fairly well and put numbers on the board. So I'm going to take the over here. Give me over 46 points in Green Bay, Detroit. And let's go 26-23. 26-23 Packers. Packers win, Packers cover, and give me the over on the points. All right, let's do a little rapid fire here, make up some time. We go over to jolly old England. We're going to Wembley Stadium for the Atlanta Falcons visiting the Jacksonville Jaguars. And obviously, like, I treat this as a road game for both of these teams, even though it feels like the Jags are like the de facto England team. They've played in Wembley and over in London so many times. Atlanta coming into this game on the tail end of back-to-back road games. They were losers last week. The Jags are losers of 2 straight, and I don't know what's going on with that team. Everyone, I think, had the impression that the Jags were going to be much improved. The glimpses of what we saw last year carrying over and only moving forward. But so far this year through 3 games, especially on the defensive side, the Jags defensively they're not abysmal, but they're one of the least efficient teams in the league. They're giving up, I think they're in the bottom 10 in terms of points they've allowed. They're also abysmally inefficient at scoring points on the offensive side. So on both sides of the ball, the Jags are not showing up to what the expectations, I believe, of them were. What I will say is on the defensive side, I've been relatively impressed with the Falcons. They're not giving up a ton of yardage. They're not giving up a ton of points. I feel like the Falcons are the better football team here. And the fact that the Jags are laying -3 makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. I don't look at them as the better of these two football teams. I'm going to take the Falcons here. This is again, a moderate upset because Vegas has them -3. But let's take Atlanta, despite the fact that it's back-to-back road games for the Falcons. Let's take Atlanta to go over to London and hang a loss on the Jaguars. Let's take Atlanta to get this win. So obviously, since the Jags are laying -3, I'm more than happy to take +3 on the team that I believe is the better team, which is the Atlanta Falcons. So give me +3 on Atlanta. Total in the game set at 43. I feel like this is an over because, again, I don't trust the Jags on defense. And even though I don't trust them on offense all that much either, such a beatable number at 43. So let's go over 43 in Atlanta, Jacksonville. Why don't we go, let's say Falcons, let's go 24-21. Give me the 45. It'll go a little bit over the 43. Give me the Falcons to win. Give me the +3 on Atlanta and give me over on the 43 points. Let's go Denver and Chicago now. I'm going to steal a line from my good friend Gio. The possibility that this game could be canceled due to lack of interest. It's my favorite line that I've ever heard him utter. And if there was any game that would ever meet that definition, it would be this one. Both of these teams looking for their first wins of the season. Denver obviously getting absolutely smoked, giving up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins. Burn the game tape on that one, I guess. But it was funny. I did see a really funny tweet about how the Broncos gave up a first and second round pick to get a coach who got beat by 50 points by a former water boy or something like that. Like it was really, really good. But I suppose you had to be there. Broncos coming into this game on the tail end of back-to-back road games. And when I say that, this season, teams that are on the tail end of back-to-back roadies, not doing overly well. They're 4-5 straight up. They're also 4-5 against the spread. So they're not finding kind of equal success. So when I say a team is on the tail end of back-to-back road games, that's what it means. When those numbers change, I tell you when they change. But as of right now, teams on that second straight road game relatively struggling versus the competition. So Denver is in that situation this week. Not only are they in that situation, they're also in a situation where they might be without arguably their best linebacker in Josie Jewell. He injured his groin last week. The expectation is that he'll be out a couple of weeks. Certainly will not be playing in this game. And yes, it's the Chicago Bears. And yes, they have been stinky butt on offense, defense, everything. They've been terrible. But they're not going to win 0 games this year. I know there's not going to be any 0-win teams in the NFL anymore. I genuinely don't believe that. So I'm going to take the home dog against an almost equally bad team. And I think the debuild here in Denver could be coming sooner rather than later. I'm going to take the Chicago Bears here in the upset. Let's take the Bears to get the win outright over the Broncos. On the line, Chicago's taking +3 here as a home dog. Take the 3 points, +3 on Chicago. Total in the game set at 46. Two defenses that obviously are not all that great. Offenses aren't fantastic either, but I think I'm going to take the over here. Fairly beatable number at 46. So let's take over the 46 points in Chicago, Denver. Let's go like 27-24, something like that. Last second field goal. We'll leave it on the kicker. 27-24 Bears. Bears get the win. Take the +3. Give me the over on the points. The Baltimore Ravens in Cleveland to take on the Browns. Cleveland coming off of a win last week, moving their record to 2-1. Baltimore on the unhappy side of an overtime loss against the Indianapolis Colts, a game that I think most people would have thought Baltimore would have won. I certainly thought Baltimore was a heavy favorite in that game. There was no Anthony Richardson. You would have thought that should have been something of a layup game for them, but I'm starting to get the feeling that the Ravens are another one of those teams that plays down to their competition. Whoever their competition is, that's right around the level that the Ravens feel like they're going to play. I think they can elevate their game against the top teams in the league, but then you get a game like that that's definitely not against the top team that you feel like they should win and just doesn't seem to work out that way. So given that's the case, and given that it's the case that the Browns are one of the best defenses to start this season in terms of yardage, in terms of points allowed on the board, the Cleveland Browns are playing excellent defensive football right now. They're getting healthier. I really like the Browns this week. Let's take Cleveland at home to get the win over Baltimore. On the line, Cleveland's laying 2.5 points here as a home favorite. I like them to win. It's a small price to pay. Let's lay the -2.5 on the Browns. Total in the game set at 41. Defensive battle incoming as far as I can see. I don't really think the Ravens they're about middle of the road offensively. So let's take the under in this one. It's 41, but let's take under 41 points in Cleveland. Baltimore, let's go like 17-10 Browns. And the Cincinnati Bengals on the road in Tennessee to take on a Titans team that is absolutely reeling. Looked terrible last week. The offensive line looked like you could have driven a truck through them. Derrick Henry got absolutely nothing. And if Derrick Henry can't run, this team can't win. I feel like that's the long and short of it. If he can't establish the run game, I don't think this Titans team is going anywhere. I think they're only going as far as Derrick Henry is going to take them. Now, my good friend and Tennessee Titans correspondent Keith Bailey may disagree with me on that, but this team strikes me as quite possibly one of the worst offenses in this league if Derrick Henry is not running the ball a ton. Now, I understand that he is dealing with I think he's nursing injuries. He's an older quote unquote player. So I understand he's probably nursing with some bang ups and some injuries and whatever, but that O-line is terrible. It's really, really bad. The Bengals coming into this game not only on the short week, so less rest because they did play on Monday night, they're also coming into the game off of a win, which is good. They are on the road. Obviously, we know that they would certainly rather be playing at home, as any NFL team would be. Somebody made a point here in the chat that the Bengals have a crap run defense. And I believe that's true. But one thing that I do think the Bengals do fairly well and better than most other teams is rush the quarterback. I think their pass rush is fairly solid. We saw a lot of that last year. I think that's definitely still in them. I think they still have the makeup of a team that likes to pressure the quarterback. And that offensive line, to me, cannot be trusted. So given that that's the situation, I like the Bengals to win this game outright, even though the game is in Tennessee. Let's take Cincinnati to beat the Titans. Against the spread, Titans are taking +2.5 here as a home dog. I like Cincinnati to win. It's a relatively small price to pay. Let's lay the -2.5 on Cincinnati. Total in the game set at 41.5, and I am definitely going to follow my friend Gio's advice here, who says Bengals Titans guaranteed under. That is definitely the way that I am going in this game as well. 41.5 point total. Yes, it's very beatable, but let's take the under here. Under 41.5 points in Cincinnati, Tennessee. I'm going to go Bengals 20. Let's go Titans 13. Let's go 20-13 in favor of Cincinnati. Bengals win, Bengals cover, and give me the under on the points. Let's see. Gio, Jags play every year in England, so I think they have a big advantage. I mean, it's true. They're certainly more comfortable over there than other teams are because, again, they go over all the time. Gorian making the point that Tony Khan, or the Khans rather, Shad Khan, an English passport holder, takes his team over yearly. It's true. Let's see. Toilet Bowl winner will be Denver beating Chicago by fumble return for a touchdown. You know what, Andrew? If it happens, I'm going to Venmo you $10 because that's a heck of a prediction. And let's keep it in mind. So if that does happen, I'm going to Venmo you $10. Martin, my heart's with the Bears. Such a long losing streak. Yeah, it's what was it? It's 13 straight now, and they've given up at least 25 points in all 13 of them. It's oh boy. The Chargers will charger themselves into losing one game to Denver. There you go. See, no winless teams at all because the Chargers are a team that exists. I'll be in Cleveland this weekend for the game. Kat, that's awesome. I hope you have a great time. That's really cool. Gardner Minshew, the new Ryan Fitzpatrick. I like that one. Let's see. Absolutely, I don't trust Cincy's offense. The UK Jaguars 4-5 at home. Good stat. I like that. Andrew's right about the toilet bowl game. He may very well be, and if he is, he's going to be $10 richer. All right. The Miami Dolphins in Buffalo to take on the Bills. This is, again, a game that we are going to be giving the primetime treatment by way of Twitter vote. So, the Miami Dolphins, one of only 3 unbeaten teams remaining in the NFL to this point in the season, traveling to Buffalo, obviously division game of the AFC East, taking on a Buffalo Bills team that are now winners of back-to-back games after losing in week 1. And boy, it just kind of feels like the Bills are basically all the way back. That Bills offense playing very well. Obviously, Miami's offense. What more can you say about a team that literally just scored 70 points? And what's so interesting about that, they did it without their second best receiver. Jalen Waddell did not play in that game. Concussion, I believe it was. So he didn't play in that game. My fantasy team really wishes he would have played in that game because if they were going to score that many points, let's please have my players on the field for that. Fortunately, it didn't work out that way, but we move on. And so they did that without their second best wide receiver, which is pretty darn impressive. Again, 2 points away from whatever was the all-time record and had a shot at it. And again, great sportsmanship by them to not do that. Yes, it would have been great to see that record broken, but pretty cool that like no reason for that to happen. So I as the polite Canadian that I am, really appreciated the fact that they didn't do that. What I think might be the biggest difference in this game is the defense of the Buffalo Bills. The Bills defense is up there with, I mean, they might be the second or third best defense in the league in terms of how they're playing right now, up there with like Dallas and the Niners. Like, I genuinely think this Bills defense is elite, as good as they've ever been. You can't say the same about Miami's defense. They haven't been terrible, but they're giving up bottom 10 yardage in the league. So you can certainly move the ball on them. They're not giving up a ton of points at will, but you can definitely move the ball on them. So in a battle of 2, what I would call elite offenses, I'm going to give the edge to the elite defense. And I believe that to be the Buffalo Bills. I think they're the difference maker in this game. If it's going to be a shootout, give me the team that can hold the one side to the fewer amount of points. That's the Buffalo Bills. Give me the Bills at home. And I actually changed my pick on this one because originally I was like Miami in the upset. I'm a believer in this team, and I am still a believer in the Dolphins. But this week, I think the Bills get them. So give me the Buffalo Bills to win their 3rd straight game. At home, they beat Miami. Against the spread, Bills are laying a full 3 points. I like them to win. Relatively small price to pay. Let's lay the -3 on the Buffalo Bills. Total in this game, 53.5. It is the largest, not only the largest total of the week, the only total in the 50s of the entire week, the only total in the 50s. I still think I'm going to go over on it because boy, oh boy, these 2 offenses can score their points. So let's still go over the 53.5 point total, but we're going to go, let's say, let's go Buffalo 34-24. So let's take the Bills to win, lay the -3 on Buffalo, still give me the over on the 53.5 points. I think Bills get into the 30s. Dolphins don't. Let's go Bills. All right, let's do a couple more quick hitters here. The Los Angeles Rams in Indianapolis taking on the Colts. So the Colts now winners of 2 straight games. Again, winning a game last week that I think most people decided or most people would have had in their minds that it wasn't a game that they were going to win. And that happens. That's the NFL, baby. That's why the games are played on the turf instead of on the paper, even though this paper in particular, this paper is gospel. But the games technically aren't played here. So Colts winners of 2 straight, Rams losers of 2 straight after losing 19-16 against the Bengals on Monday night. A lot of things going against the Rams here. Like I said, losers of 2 straight. They're on the short week because they just played on Monday night. They're on the tail end of back-to-back road games. That's a lot going against a team. Now, if this game was in Los Angeles, obviously, like, okay, short week, you definitely still have to take it into consideration. But the fact that it's a short week, they're on a short losing streak, and it's tail end of back-to-back road games, I'm fading the Rams this week. I think probably top to bottom, the Rams are a slightly better team, but I do think the Colts are getting Anthony Richardson back this week. That's going to be a boost to their offensive weapons. Give me the Colts here. Give me the Colts to get the win, their 3rd straight win, miraculously, 3rd straight win for the Colts in Indianapolis. Let's take them to beat the Rams. On the line, the Colts are laying a pretty modest minus 1.5 in this game against LA. I like them to win. It's a small price to pay. Let's lay the minus 1.5 right along with. Total in this game set at 47 points. I feel really good about the offenses putting on a bit of a show in this one. I don't really see a ton from either of these defenses to get me excited. The Rams, one of the least efficient defenses in the NFL right now. So let's take the over here, over 47 points in Indianapolis, Los Angeles. Let's go 28. Let's go like 28-24. 28-24 for the Colts. Colts win, Colts cover, and over the 47 points. Andrew correctly pointing out that Anthony Richardson is still in concussion protocol, but I feel like I read in a couple of places that he's progressing quite quickly through the concussion protocol, so I do believe he will be back in plenty of time for this game. The Tampa Bay Bucs in New Orleans to take on a Saints team that's looking like they're going to have to make a change at quarterback after Derek Carr, of course, gets injured in the Green Bay game. He has to leave. Jordan Love in Green Bay orchestrates the comeback, and now the Saints are dealing with a relatively short-term life after Derek Carr, but still, I don't think we're going to see Carr for a couple of weeks. He's been diagnosed with a sprain of his AC joint in his throwing shoulder. So we're looking at probably a 2 to 3 week absence for Derek Carr. So we're looking at a backup quarterback here. I believe they have a young guy that the fans are kind of calling for. So who the starting quarterback will be for the Saints obviously remains to be seen in this one. The Bucs are coming into this game on the short week and obviously did not look overly. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of the Raiders. I'm absolutely thinking of Jimmy Garoppolo and the Raiders. That's my bad. You're right. With the Saints, it's absolutely Jameis Winston. What am I talking about? Absolutely. I'm sorry. I was definitely thinking about the Raiders there. That's my bad. Disregard the last comment there that I made. So it is going to be Jameis Winston. We know who Jameis Winston is. We have seen who Jameis Winston is over the past few seasons. And I'm not just talking about, the 300 touchdown, 300 interception season he had or whatever it was. Not just talking about that. 30 for 30. Cat just put it right in there. Cat, the timing. The timing is right there, and I love it. I'm not just talking about that. It's that, but it's more than that. We have enough on tape to know what Jameis Winston can do and know what Jameis Winston can't do. I don't think Jameis Winston reads defenses at the NFL level like a guy that's been in the NFL this long and was a former first overall pick. Now, obviously, you can't help who was a first overall pick, but still, I just don't think he operates on the level of as much of a veteran as he is. We know what he is. I've been relatively impressed with the Bucs. I didn't think they looked all that great on Monday night, but I'm willing to consider the possibility that was a bump in the road for them. I think their defense is still very good. One of the most efficient defenses in the NFL so far this year. The offense kind of left a little something to be desired, but that defense is good. I'm going to take the upset here. I'm going to take the Bucs on the road in New Orleans to get the win over the Saints. On the line, Saints are laying -3. I like the Bucs to win, so give me the 3 points on Tampa Bay. And let's see, what do we got here? We got the total in this game at 40.5 points. Again, such a beatable number, but I think it's the Bucs defense that ultimately winds up winning this game. So give me the under on this. It's not a good under, but we're going to take it anyway. Give me like 17-13 for the Bucs. Bucs win, Bucs cover the +3, and give me the under on the points. Cat, he's what us young folks call a yeeter. Wants to chuck that ball down the field, Brett Favre style. Fair enough. What we found out is Brett Favre, he ain't. Cat asks a great question in the chat. Over under 35 minutes on Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore fighting. I think you can set that at 35 seconds. I think they're just going to. I'm not starting Mike Evans in any of my fantasy leagues this week because he's going to get ejected. He's going to get ejected. So I ain't doing it. He's on my bench this week. I'm not even contemplating the possibility of starting him this week. Let's move on. Washington traveling to Philadelphia for a battle of the NFC East. The Eagles, one of the other undefeated teams so far in the NFL at 3-0. Coming into this game, obviously, on the short week, having convincingly beaten the Bucs on Monday night. Washington, losers last week, and boy, did they ever look terrible doing it. Man, did that team look bad. Sam Howell. Let's talk about Sam Howell for a second, because I feel personally betrayed by Sam Howell. So I came into this season being like, yo, Sam Howell is going to be a fantasy football league winner this year. He's going to be an underrated top 12 quarterback option, borderline QB1 in fantasy. He's going to do some great things. And I thought that was going to go right in line with the rise of Jahan Dotson. Like, I genuinely expected Jahan Dotson to be like a top 24 wide receiver this year, which that could still possibly happen. But, oh my God. I mean, last week was a burn the game game. But you still have to take it into account. And I think he and I know I'm fixating on the fantasy number here, but I'm pretty sure he had like -7 fantasy points. Like, through, what was it, 3 interceptions, 4 interceptions? Just like an all-time bad game. And look, young players, it can happen with young players. But I mean, we certainly don't like to see that. And it has completely robbed me of any confidence in the Commanders on the offensive side of the ball. They're bottom 10 in the league right now in terms of yardage per game. And on the defensive side, like, the defenses are not good, or their defense at the very least is not good. They're one of the bottom 5 efficient defenses in the NFL so far, giving up somewhere inside the bottom 10 in terms of points allowed. So there's nothing at all. Like, look, nothing would give me more joy than to look at a game where there's a division. It's a division game where one team is favored by more than a touchdown and say, take the points. That brings me personal satisfaction. But you can't do it in this game. There's nothing about Washington's side that instills that feeling of like, an upset could happen here. This could be a real tight game. I said last week that the Eagles were a team that I felt like I said about Baltimore earlier, kind of plays down to their opposition sometimes. That might be true. We didn't see that last week. We saw an Eagles team that was completely in control of that game for basically its entire runtime. So that's not what we saw last week. So I have to consider the possibility that I might have been wrong about that. And I feel like the Eagles roll in this football game. Let's take Philadelphia here, even on the short rest, even in a division game. I think the Eagles roll. So Eagles get the win over the Commanders. Like I mentioned, Eagles are laying more than a touchdown here against the spread. They're -8. And I feel very good about them covering that number. Like, I don't see any reason why they don't cover that number against that defense. So let's lay the -8 there with ease. Total in the game at 44.5 points. I don't think the Commanders can keep this to an under. Give me the over here. Again, I think the Eagles are dominant in this game. Let's go like 37-17, something like that. So we're going to have the Eagles roll, the Eagles cover, and give me the over on the points. And let's talk about another battle of winless teams. Gio's Minnesota Vikings in Carolina to take on the Panthers. Is there anybody that we know in the community that's a Panthers fan? We can go like Gio versus somebody. I don't think there is. So, to this point in the season, both of these teams have been kind of dookie, kind of not good. Neither one of these teams are overly impressive on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, Minnesota's got more weapons. Minnesota's definitely got more weapons and healthier weapons at this point. We'll talk about that in a second. But neither one of them offensively have been super impressive. Defensively, Carolina has been a mess. Minnesota's been at least serviceable. They've been at least kind of like league average. Carolina has very much not. They're one of the least efficient defenses. They're giving up bottom 10 in points. You know, it's not a good defense. And even though they have weapons on the offensive side, because they definitely do, one of the biggest ones probably not going to be playing in this game, and that's wide receiver Jonathan Mingo. He's going through concussion protocol. On the defensive side, you also have Xavier Woods at safety and Frankie Louvu at linebacker dealing with hamstring and hip injuries. They might play, they might not play. We have absolutely no update on any of them. The Panthers could have all of them available. They could have none of them available. And usually I don't roll so confidently with a team that has 0 wins. And as actually Half Moon just kind of pointed out, the turnover ratio is real bad. But there is exactly one game-breaking player in this game, and that's Justin Jefferson. So Justin Jefferson plays, Vikings roll. So that's the way we're going to go with this one. Let's take the Minnesota Vikings on the road in Carolina, especially considering all those injuries. Minnesota gets the win over the Panthers. On the line, Carolina taking +3.5 here as a home dog. Lay those points. I don't see any reason not to. Let's take -3.5 on the Vikings on the road. Total in this game set at 45.5 points. Somebody in the chat just said, Gorian just said take the over. And here's the thing about the Vikings. There's been a lot of thunder, but only like league average lightning. You know what I mean? Like they're, I think, top 5 in the league in terms of offensive yards, but efficiency, they're bottom 5, which means they're not scoring points for the yardage that they're putting up. Like they should have way more points based on the amount of yards that they've had. So yes, they can move the ball very well. And yes, Carolina is giving up a lot of points, but I also don't know what Carolina is going to do on the offensive side. I'm actually going to take the under in this game. It's set at 45.5. It's a middling 40. Yes, it's a very beatable number. I'm going to stick under on it because I just don't believe that the Vikings are going to finally just start finding the end zone at will. So give me the under in this one, under 45.5 points. in Minnesota, Carolina. Let's go Vikings 24, Carolina 10. Let's go something like that. 24-10 seems like a reasonable answer. So we're going to have the Vikings win, the Vikings cover, and give me the under on the point total. All right, before we talk about the Sunday Nighter, let's take a peek at what's going on in chat. Let's see. Kat says the loss to DC last year was a double-digit spread curse. Don't put too much value in it. That was about the Eagles. Geo, NFC East rivalry games are super intense. Those teams truly hate each other. Agreed. Even if Obi-Wan helps Washington's offense out with the force, they still lose. Eagles would win with no A.J. Brown or Jalen Hurts. I like that. Let's see. Andrew, Kirk Cousins and the Vikings win because it's not a primetime game. Again, he'll never get rid of that. He'll never get rid of that stigma of primetime Kirk Cousins, ever. Vikings finally get a draft pick high enough to take a stud quarterback in the draft. I like that insight, Gio. I like that very much. Vikings turnovers killing them. Absolutely. Should have won last week because Staley is dumb. A comment after my own heart on that one. Dumb teams are dumb. That's a good one, Kat. Well done. Thielen revenge game. That's an interesting one, Gorian. I like that. That's a good point. Who can outdumb who after a great fantasy week last week? Daryl Turner in the chat. Opinions on the Browns covering against the Ravens. So we talked about that game earlier. I have the Browns covering -2.5. That's what I see them as being favored right now. That defense has been super, super impressive to me. The offense has kind of had its moments of like, it's the same old Browns. That's not good. Like that reverse pass. Of course, that's the one everybody's going to highlight. But, I mean, the defense has played 3 very good football games. Excellent football games, in fact. That pass rush is deadly. So I do think they cover that 2.5 because I don't really know what to make of the Ravens team right now. Let's see. Justin, I think the Patriots, Bills, Titans, Bucs, and Browns all win in week 4. What's your opinion? So Patriots game we haven't gotten to yet. That's coming. Bills, I have the Bills winning outright. Tennessee, I have them losing to Cincinnati. The Bucs, I have winning in New Orleans. And the Browns, I have them winning as well. So the only one so far that I'm on the opposite side for you right now is Tennessee. Man, I'm scared of that offensive line in a way as, they're playing scary, as in scary bad. I'm going to say the Texans. The Texans. So we haven't gotten to the Houston game yet. That's actually, we're going to talk about the Sunday Nighter, and then that's the next one we're going to talk about. So the Texans, that game is still coming. So far, I'm with you. So we're going to skip ahead and look at the Sunday night game. The Kansas City Chiefs, now winners of back-to-back games and blessed with the power that is Taylor Swift fandom, in New York, taking on a Jets team that has dropped 2 games in a row since winning the season opener, winning for Aaron in week 1. Weeks 2 and 3 definitely have not looked the same. I believe, didn't the Jets just sign Trevor Siemian today, or did he have a physical or something like that? Did they bring him in or did they sign him? I think they might have signed him, which is a sign that things are not going well in the quarterback room. And again, that's nothing against Trevor Siemian, but he's not the answer, you wouldn't think. So the Jets on the offensive side of the ball, one of the worst offenses in the NFL so far this year. I may, in fact, hold them up as the worst because not only are they getting virtually the Giants are a team that exists. Both the New York teams are not doing well. They're bottom 5 in yards per game. They're bottom 5 in points per game. They're bottom 10 in efficiency. They're just not doing anything. They've got weapons. They've got, like, Garrett Wilson's a guy that exists. Breece Hall is a guy that exists. Like, they've got weapons. They're just not doing anything with them. They're putting absolutely nothing on the board. And then even when you look on the defensive side, the defense has done some good things. They're a top 10 efficient defense. Any success that the Jets have this season is going to be on the back of the defense, because you really don't believe, you can't believe at this point that the offense is going to drive the bus. It's got to be the defensive side of the ball. Kansas City. Kansas City's back to being Kansas City. Yes, it was against the Bears, but I feel like Kansas City is basically most, if not all, the way back. I'd like to see their efficiency get a little bit better, but they're getting a ton of yards. The points are starting to come. And Kansas City has been like deceptively underrated on the defensive side of the ball this year. Efficiency is through the roof. They're not giving up a ton of yards. They're giving up very, very few points. I think they're top 5 in the NFL so far this year. Let's pull up my handy dandy piece of paper here. Yes, top 5 in the NFL in terms of, points allowed. So underrated is looking at this. And that's a defense that didn't have Chris Jones for the first week. So that defense playing exceptionally good football. So if you got a battle of 2 good defenses, you've only got one offense that can actually do something, and one offense that very much cannot. Should be pretty easy to tell where I'm going to go with this one. And it is not quite a double-digit spread yet. It's right there. It's 9.5. So it's not a double-digit spread yet. We're going to take the Chiefs here on the road to beat the Jets fairly convincingly. Let's take Kansas City in New York to beat the Jets. Yeah, Gorian makes a great point there. Kansas City finally covered a big spread, which they never really do. That's the Taylor Swift difference, baby. That's the world we're living in. We might as well embrace it. That's the Taylor Swift difference. Oh, there's a big spread? That you're good. You got this. And they did. So, Kansas City laying minus 9.5 in New York. I have no problem at all laying these points. I'm sure it's probably 3 possessions that Kansas City wins this game by. I just don't see the Jets doing anything against them defensively. So let's lay the minus 9.5 here on Kansas City. Total in the game is 42.5 points. Once again, I don't know what I'm going to get from the Jets on the offensive side. Give me the under in this one, because the Chiefs defense playing very good football right now. Under 42.5 in Kansas City, New York. Let's go Chiefs 27, Jets, I don't know, 6. Let's go 27-6. Poor Jets. 27-6. Chiefs win, Chiefs cover. Give me the under on the points. All right. So now that we finally have a week where there's not 2 Monday night games, we're going to fly through the last 4 games before we get to the Monday Night Football matchup of the Seattle Seahawks in New York taking on the Giants. We are going to start with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are traveling to Houston on the tail end of back-to-back road games, but winners of 2 straight. Steelers in Houston to take on a Texans team that picked up a win last week. Did they want to? I don't know. I don't know if they're still trying to lose. Maybe they are. CJ Stroud seemed like he looked pretty good. Nico Collins didn't exactly have a great game. He's had a good season up to this point, but didn't really see too much from him. But hey, they got a win, so thumbs up. Gio's in the chat trash talking Taylor Swift, calling her Taylor Ono. That is a good one. That is funny. Yeah, I would relatively impressed with the Steelers. Certainly the defensive side. I think that defense is back to being about as good as it's been over the last few years. The offense definitely leaving plenty to be desired here. One of the bottom hang on now. Yeah, bottom 10 in terms of yardage. Their efficiency's been fine. The points they've been scored is about what they should have been scoring for the points that are for the yardage that they're getting. So from an efficiency perspective, they've been all right. The defense has been pretty good. They've given up a lot of yards. They've been very bend, but they've been no break. They're giving up like league average points, or a little bit better than league average. So I think on the defensive side is what happens is the way that this game goes. And I think the Steelers just genuinely have the better defense. Houston's been pretty decent this year, but I think the Steelers have the better defense. I'm going to give the edge to Pittsburgh in this one. Let's take the Steelers on the road in Houston to get their third straight win. Pittsburgh beats the Texans. On the line, Houston taking +3 here as a home dog. That line's a little smelly to me. It's a little fishy, but I like Pittsburgh to win. It's right on the end of my like small price to pay. So I guess I'll kind of hold my nose and lay the -3 on Pittsburgh. But something about that line. Gio, how do you feel about that line? Smells a little fishy to me. But we'll go ahead and lay the points anyway because I'm a sucker. Total in the game set at 42 points. I think we lean just like a little bit over on this one. Let's go like a 24-20 competitive football game. Pittsburgh wins, Pittsburgh covers. Give me a very, very, very marginal over on that 42. But that game's going to be interesting. That could be a little bit of a trap. Gio kind of echoing that, saying, I simply cannot get the Steelers right ever. I got teams like that. One of them we're about to talk about. Actually, two of them we're about to talk about. Thank God they're in the same game. The Las Vegas Raiders on the road in Los Angeles taking on the Chargers. Now, this is a matchup where two significant pieces of these teams' offenses will not likely be in this game. So again, I was talking about it earlier. Raiders come into this game losers of 2 straight. Chargers, at the very least, did get a win last week in the aforementioned game where Coach Staley made that analytics driven, I'll defend it, I'll do it again. It's like, yes, we've known for seasons that you're bad at this. So thank you for reiterating the fact that you're bad at this. So, it is what it is when it comes to Staley. But again, on the injury side, the Raiders, Jimmy Garoppolo, was evaluated after the game for a concussion. So there's a little bit of controversy here because then the question is like, well, if you evaluated him after the game for a concussion, that must mean that in some degree you felt like he had a concussion or might have had a concussion, had reason to suspect a concussion, but didn't take him out of the game. Is that not what the concussion spotters are there for? Is that not what the point of this whole thing is? So he's in protocol. Gorian there saying he's in protocol now. So why did he finish the game? Or why did he play as deep into the game as he did? If there was thought there, you would have thought they would have taken him out before that. In any case, so he's in protocol, game time decision for Jimmy G. On the Chargers side, wide receiver Mike Williams. God, this wide receiver room cannot stay healthy. I guess that's why they drafted Quentin Johnston. Mike Williams tore his ACL. He is done for the season. Speaking of Quentin Johnston, you're up. Like, you step up. Josh Palmer is going to be there in the slot. Quentin Johnston is going to get those reps on the outside. He's going to get a bigger target share. Let's see what they got. Rookie wide receivers have been able to do things in this league over the last couple of years. Let's see what Quentin Johnston's going to be able to do. Quentin Johnston is like that Jordan Addison type of player where it's like he's a Randy Moss type. My role is to take the ball deep and take the top off the defense. That's kind of what Quentin Johnston is there for. He's a deep threat. He's a big receiver. I want to see him going down the field, catching bombs from Justin Herbert. That is exactly what I want to see. And that's what I think we're going to see now because, again, next man up. Addison and Flowers have looked great so far this year. Kat makes a great point there. Puka Nacua, need we say more, even though he wasn't the greatest there in his third game, but still. So in a matchup of two teams that I can never predict correctly, I'm just going to take the favorite to cover and take the over and see what happens. And if I'm wrong, we move on to we salute them and we move on to next week. I'm going to take the Chargers because I think the Chargers are going to be able to rebound from their injury easier than the Raiders will. Let's take the Chargers at home to beat the Raiders. It would be the third straight loss for Vegas. Another team that might be coming close to tearing it apart. On the line, Chargers are laying -5.5 points here as a home favorite. Let's lay the -5.5. Let's see what happens. Total in the game 47.5 points. Got to take the over here. Neither of these defenses are all that spectacular this year. I think we could see quite a few points. Give me over 47.5 in Chargers Raiders. Let's go Chargers 33. Let's go Raiders 24. Something like that. I think the Chargers definitely get in the 30s. 33-24. We might see Austin Eckler back this week. I think it's more likely that we probably see him in week 5, but there's at least I think an outside shot that we might see him this week. So let's go ahead and take that high scoring affair in Los Angeles. The New England Patriots on the road in Dallas taking on the Cowboys. The Cowboys shockingly lose to the Arizona Cardinals last week to drop their record to 2-1. Not many people saw that coming. However, if you took the Cowboys in a survival pool, I don't know what to tell you. You kind of got. It kind of sucks. I've been there. I didn't feel like they were the strongest play last week just because they were on the road. But I mean, I can't blame anybody for wanting to take Dallas in that spot, especially with, the injury to Budda Baker. You thought, okay, they're going to be able to put up 60. A ton of people picked Dallas and Jacksonville. Half Moon makes a great point there. And oh boy, not great. But the Cowboys are going to have an ample opportunity here, taking on a Patriots team that, yes, did win last week in a division game against the Jets. Again, competition. Significant step up in competition this week. And the Pats are on the tail end of back-to-back road games. I haven't been super impressed with them on the offensive side of the ball. Bottom 5 in efficiency so far this year. The defense has been statistically pretty good, but they have given up a few more points than you would have expected them to give up for the minuscule amount of yardage that they've given up. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows on the defensive side either. In terms of Dallas, that game is the blip on the radar. They're a super efficient offense. They're a very good defense. They get back on track this week. Dallas gets the win over the Patriots. On the line, Dallas is laying a full touchdown, -7 at home here against the Patriots. I feel pretty good about them covering that number. And honestly, Dallas is a team I'm going to take a good long look at in my survival pools this week. I really do enjoy their prospects this week. I think they definitely just get back on track. It was a bad game. You were a huge favorite. You should have won. You didn't, but we're going to go ahead and get them back on track this week. Dallas gets the win over the Pats and covers the -7. Total in the game set at 43.5 points. I think this Cowboys defense is going to be able to do some real good things against the Pats offense this week. I'm looking at multiple interceptions, even without the presence of a Trayvon Diggs. So let's go ahead and take the under on this total. It's a very beatable number of 43.5, but let's take the under here. Under 43.5 points in Dallas, New England. Let's go Dallas 26, Patriots 13. Let's have them double them up. 26-13. Dallas wins. Dallas covers comfortably, and give me the under on the points. And the Arizona Cardinals, the shock winners from last week that we just mentioned, traveling to San Francisco to take on the 49ers, division game of the NFC West. Niners, the other unbeaten team so far in the NFL this season. They obviously 3-game winning streak. They have the benefit of the long week coming into this one, having played on Thursday night in week 3. And basically, my thoughts on this game are this. Lightning does not strike twice. We're not going to see the same kind of performance from the Cards this week as we did last week. I think the Niners go in and win this game convincingly. Do they cover the spread? That's the big question. And I really hope that Cat is still in the chat, because Cat is very adamant on this point. Those double-digit spreads so far this season have been dookie. for the most part. Yeah, Kansas City, sure, Chicago. But by and large, those double digit spreads have not been good. And the Niners are laying 14 points. It's a college spread against a division opponent. Yes, the game's at home, but this game reeks of a very marginal backdoor cover. This game reeks of a backdoor cover. And especially the fact that I like the fact that this number is so low because I genuinely expect this game to stay under. I think this is a defensive matchup, and I'm just smelling a backdoor cover here. So I'm going to take the plus 14 with the Arizona Cardinals. I guess I just don't have the stomach to lay that many points. And you know what? If San Francisco wins this game by 45 points, I shrug my shoulders and say, well, I know why I did what I did. So we're going to take the points with the Cardinals. Total in the game, like I said, 43.5. I'm taking the under in this matchup. I think that's a pretty darn good number. I think it's going to be pretty close to what we're actually going to see in this game. So, but let's go like 27-14. Like genuinely backdoor cover. Like last scoring play, backdoor cover. So let's go ahead and take under the 43.5 points. We'll go with the 27-14 gives us a very close under and the plus 14 with the cards. So Niners win, but give me the points and give me the under. All right. The final game that we look at this week, the Seattle Seahawks in New York to take on a Giants team that I feel has been abysmal this season. Abysmal on the offensive side, pretty abysmal on the defensive side. Not a lot to write home about. The Seattle Seahawks, on the other hand, winners of 2 straight games. I feel like their offense is all right. I'd like to see some more yardage out of them, but they're scoring about what we thought that they would be scoring based on the yardage that they're getting. Defense definitely has left a little something to be desired, but from an efficiency perspective, have been playing a little higher than what their numbers would indicate because the numbers are fairly ugly. They're bottom 5 in terms of yardage allowed and points allowed. So again, defense is not great, but they're playing a team that I genuinely don't know if they can score. And once again, whether Saquon's there or not, it just genuinely feels like I don't know if they can score. And with Darren Waller on that team, you should be able to put up more points than they've been able to do so far. I don't know what to make of this Giants team. One of the more disappointing, it's one of the more disappointing situations in the NFL so far this year. And what blows my mind is the Giants are, I think, still favorites in this game, are they not? The last I saw Giants minus a 1.5. I'm going to covers right now because I want to see. The Giants are laying a 1.5 as home favorites. Why? How? Who in their right mind would believe that? Who in their right mind would actually believe the Giants are the better team between these two? And Seattle's not lighting the league on fire. But you look at Seattle and you look at the Giants, that they're really giving them that home team bump. They have to be. Because if this game was in Seattle, I would expect a number kind of like we saw for Seattle in week 1. Weren't they like 5.5-point favorites or something in week 1? That would be a number that I would expect to see, but they are really generously, they must believe Saquon is playing. That's the only reason that they would be favored that much. I still don't know whether he is or he isn't. Obviously, he has the extra time to get ready to play, but even if he does, he's not going to be at 100%. I'm on the Seahawks in this game all day. All day. Winners of 2 straight, playing better football now than they were at the very beginning of the season. I'm on Seattle in a big bad way here. Seattle goes to New York, even with the long rest, and gets the win over the Giants. Obviously, since I'm taking Seattle to win, give me the plus 1.5. Weird spread. Give me the plus 1.5 on Seattle. Total in this game set at 47. And I think with these two defenses, I think you probably got to wind up going over, even though the Giants on the offensive side have not been good. This over comes from the fact that I don't trust the defenses. It's not that I think, oh yeah, the offenses will cover this easily. It's just that I don't trust the defenses at all, period. So give me like a marginal over on this 47 points. So let's go like Seattle 27, Giants 21. Something like that. Seattle wins, Seattle covers. Give me the over on the points. Again, Seattle is the better team between these two. I think objectively speaking. And Kat, you're absolutely right. That over is gross. Like 47 is a really good number because it's like it's just low enough that it's like, yeah, but these defenses suck. So it's in that way, it's like it's the perfect Vegas number. But we'll still take the over. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the picks for week 4 of the NFL in 2023. Obviously, there's some contention like there normally is, but in general, I do feel better about these picks than I did in week 3. So let's see what that results in. That's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, fueled as always by the incredible folks at Nerd Tees. And Nerd Tees was so incredible, I finished the cup and dripped a little on my desk, but that's fine. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch the stream in week 4, to check out the picks. Thank you so much. Enjoy the games in week 4, and we will see you again for week number 5. All right, folks. That is going to be the show. Those are the picks. So, as always, I will now give the floor to you here for a few minutes and ask you, what picks did you love? What picks did you hate? Where did you think I was totally off base? Where did you think I'm right on the money? Let me know. The floor is yours, ladies and gentlemen, here at the end of the stream. While you're contemplating those questions, let's take a peek back here in the chat. Let's see. Let's come way back up here. Let's see. Geo, my buddy is a Jets fan. Bears are still worse offensively than the Jets. Probably, but I would take Fields over Zach Wilson any day. I don't know how you can keep Wilson on this team if not during the season. Even after the season, you're going to lose that whole team. I mean, it's tough. You spent so much draft capital on him. You have to at least give him the opportunity to improve his trade value so that then you can turn around and try to offload him onto a team like maybe like a Denver who needs a young quarterback. Now, I mean, Denver may just keep their pick and draft one, but that may be an opportunity for them. Let's see. That offense would be different if Aaron Rodgers didn't hurt his Achilles. Absolutely. 100%. That offense would be night and day different if it was Aaron Rodgers there. Let's see. Watch how fast Travis Kelsey's career goes in the toilet because of Taylor Ono. I know, Gio. I know. Let's see. One day the NFL will learn not to schedule a team who gets a new quarterback for a season to a bunch of primetime games. This is a great insight. Um, Russ was bad last year and Rodgers gets hurt this year. That's a great comment. Because again, you do have to be forward thinking in a way, but at the same time, you can't like the storyline is good enough. Schedule them a bunch of primetime games. And then that happens. And now we've seen it in back-to-back years. So that's great insight. I really like that, Cat. Well done. Kenny Pickett could use more weapons. I mean, it's tough for him. Deontay Johnson just moved to IR. That's a big weapon for him in the receiving game. So it's tough. In general, I'd like to see them get another weapon. But, it's tough when one of your best guys is on IR. I'm 0-3 on Chargers games this year. Join the club. Let's see. Chargers defense wakes up as they beat Vegas, but Vegas covers. Interesting. Chargers are every bettor's nightmare. Most voodoo team of all time, even ahead of the Vikings. Gio, I 100% agree. Gorian with the good comp. I think I was talking about Quentin Johnston with like Jordan Addison, Randy Moss, just go down the field kind of thing. And what I love about that so much is he's got a quarterback in Justin Herbert that can absolutely do that and can absolutely make that kind of player a superstar. Like he's got a big arm and an accurate arm. So I love that possibility there. Daryl Turner, love the Texans head coach and his coaching and culture in Texas. He was the 49ers DC last year, and the Niners still have his DC philosophy intact. That's why I think the Texans win, just like the Niners did week 1. Interesting. Very good. Very good. I like that, Daryl. Let's see. Cowboys and Ravens got the 7:02 call last week. Gotta love the 7:02 call. I like the Bucs against the Saints because of the car injury with Winston filling in and the Buccaneers licking their chops against their old ex-teammate. Like it. Houston is a Grey Cup winner in comparison to Arizona. CFL references for all occasions. Love it. Andrew, I'm being a fanboy, taking the Patriots to upset Dallas. Zeke Elliott gets his revenge. Yes, for another revenge game. You're right. And with Trayvon Diggs hurt, Hoodie will attack that. I mean, it's true, but like attack that with who? Like you're going to attack that with like Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby Myers. Like seems like Juju's not been doing a ton for them this year. So, I mean, possibly. Niners will be playing their scrubs by halfway through the third quarter, says Gio. Let's see. Gavin is a Cardinals fan. Arizona plus 14 all day. I think Justin's sitting in Gavin's seat this week. I mean, maybe. No, if I was sitting in Gavin's seat, all the lights behind me would be turned off. Like, Gavin has a very particular way when he's on camera. Let's see. Dallas losing a double-digit spread has opened the door. Definitely on Arizona plus 14 in a heartbeat. That was from Kat. Niners have scored 30 points all 3 games. Very true. Half Moon says last year, Arizona 13 at San Francisco 38. Giants a disappointment so far. Seattle small spread. Bills will beat the Dolphins because Miami win-lose record in history doesn't lie when the Dolphins travel to play the Bills in Buffalo. Gorian, Seattle would be -7 at home. I pretty well agree with that. Let's see. Giants coming off Thursday night football, so a ton of rest and prep time. It's true. I see a lot of people. This is from Daryl. I see a lot of people are picking games based off perception instead of strength of schedule, strength of previous opponents, and team strengths versus opponents' weaknesses and injuries. I like how you plan to sit all your starters in fantasy this week. That comes from Half Moon, who we are playing each other this week. It's true, but Moon, I am getting Alvin Kamara back, aka the PPR GOAT. The only one I don't agree with you going is my Patriots. Elliott will get his revenge on Dallas. Kat reacting to me talking about the potential of them trading Zach Wilson. Tell me who will trade him. That's what I'm saying. They need to give him the opportunity which they're doing, and it's not really going well yet, but at least give him the opportunity to try to play a little better, increase his value a little bit. I'm not saying it'll happen, but you never know. I like the Jags heavy. I genuinely think you're off there. All right, fair enough. Denver should not take Wilson. Fair enough. Patriots won last 2 in Dallas by over 20 points. They already have one disappointing Wilson. Why go to? Oh my God, I didn't even put that together. Yeah. Can you imagine a quarterback room where their quarterbacks had to put their first initials on their jerseys? You never know. You might confuse them. God. Flex the Jets out. Saints rally for Jameis Winston happens all the time. Kamara's also back this week, although he's slowing down. Who's a good matchup against the Dolphins? Who do you want to see them play for a good game? Asks Sean Allen. Look, this Dolphins Bills game is going to be excellent. That game is going to be very, very good. 2 very good offenses. I would love to see them play I think they'd give Kansas City a good game. I really do. There's a lot of really interesting options there for the Dolphins. Oh, that's right. Jacoby Myers is in Vegas now. I can't keep these things straight. Yes, he's in the dark. Yes, Gavin is always just sitting in a pitch dark room. Zach Wilson, the jigsaw of the NFL. That's an interesting comp. Really, really weird. I think the Cards will put up more of a fight and barely lose. I think they at least cover the number. That's as far as I'm willing to go on it, but I think they cover the number. All right. Post stream is now done. We just hit an hour and a half, which I want to keep streams shorter than that, but wanted to give you a little bit of time here in the post stream to talk. So that is going to end the stream here for week 4. Thank you guys so much once again for taking the time to, I can't keep anything straight either, but thank you so much for taking the time to stop into the stream in week 4. I really genuinely appreciate it. We'll see you again in 1 week's time at 7 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday for the week 5 stream. Thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll see you again next week.